Get ready for the news that is shaking up the creative world. Austin musicians are fighting back, pushing hard for crucial protection against the growing threat of artificial intelligence. We dive into how these artists are organizing to secure their creative future in this rapidly changing landscape. Shows that this sector is generating billions in revenue and GVA, proving that nurturing the next generation of musicians is a massive economic win for the country. Discover the surprising links between music education and audience engagement. And finally, forget everything you thought you knew about selling your music catalog. Matt Caprio of Songcash explains how independent artists can now unlock real financial value from their back catalog, proving that you do not need to be famous to make a major impact. Stay with us for the full breakdown. Austin musicians are actively advocating for robust protection measures against the growing influence of artificial intelligence. This push for safeguards highlights growing concerns within the music industry regarding copyright, fair use, and the potential impact of AI-generated content on human artists and their livelihoods. The discussion centers on establishing clear legal frameworks and ethical guidelines to ensure that musicians' creative works are respected and appropriately compensated in an era where AI tools can generate music and other creative assets rapidly. Further details on the specific demands and proposed solutions from the Austin music community are expected in upcoming coverage. The Australian music industry, valued at approximately $10 billion, is demonstrating significant revenue growth, though artist income lags behind industry expansion, according to the latest findings from Limelight Magazine's The Bass Line Report. The second edition of the report reveals that between 2024 and 2025, the industry generated $10.76 billion in revenue, contributing $4.28 billion to the national gross value added. This marks a 5.2% increase from previous figures, driven by growth in music retail, composition, songwriting, and music publishing exports. However, the contribution from live music gross value added saw a decrease of $36 million, attributed to the rise of major international touring acts. State contributions to the GVA are heavily weighted towards New South Wales at 36%, Victoria at 30%, and Queensland at 16%. Music education emerged as a substantial economic driver, generating $1.79 billion in revenue, surpassing live performance in economic contribution. Conversely, the report highlights a concerning trend in tertiary arts enrollment, which has fallen by 21% between 2015 and 2023, with significant drops noted in Queensland and Western Australia. The report identifies a structural ATAR disincentive as a key factor, suggesting that the scaling down of music as a subject in schooling negatively impacts academic results. Looking ahead, the report emphasizes the symbiotic relationship between music education and audience engagement, noting that students taught an art form are more likely to consume recorded music and attend live events, creating a direct economic link to future spending on concerts and streaming. Despite overall industry growth, artist income has only increased by 0.9%, reaching $877 million for the period, failing to keep pace with inflation. Live performance remains the largest income source for artists at 49%, while royalties account for 23%. The industry faces several looming pressures, most notably the impact of artificial intelligence. 82% of creators view AI as a threat to their income. Threats include dynamic ticket pricing, A&R automation, copyright complexities, and the displacement of various creative roles. While current AI use is largely assistive, with only 6% of artists using fully generative AI tools, the proliferation of fully AI-generated tracks on streaming platforms poses a tangible economic risk. Furthermore, algorithmic bias is a concern, with reports indicating that AI-generated playlists may disadvantage Australian artists, prompting calls for streaming services to increase the visibility of local music. Audience behavior is shifting, with attendees prioritizing international acts, although overall entertainment spending remains higher than in 2019. The report concludes by underscoring that while the industry is expanding, structural and technological challenges must be addressed to ensure sustainable income for Australian musicians and arts workers. A new research report by Music Australia, titled More Than Notes on a Page, The Music Education Ecosystem in Australia, reveals that music education is a significant economic driver for the nation, generating $1.79 billion in revenues and approximately $1.5 billion in direct gross value added, surpassing the economic contribution of live performance. The study comprehensively examined the music education landscape, encompassing formal and informal settings such as instrumental tuition, composition, conducting, recording, live production, and music business training. Music remains Australia's most widely accessed art form among children, with 47% of children learning music in school and an additional 23% participating through extracurricular providers, establishing it as the most common out-of-school creative activity. This diverse ecosystem includes private and nonprofit providers, community conservatoria, tertiary institutions, vocational training organizations, and registered training providers catering to early childhood through lifelong learning. The industry's core, instruction and delivery, is highly significant, generating an estimated $1.8 billion in revenue and $1.5 billion in gross value added, and comprising over half of all national music education organizations. Supporting segments, including research, pedagogy, and teacher training, contributed $53 million in revenue and $20 million in GVA, alongside $13 million in export income, highlighting international demand for Australian expertise. Structural components further contribute to the economy. Youth pathways and showcase activities generated $21 million in revenue and $11 million in GVA, providing crucial progression routes into tertiary study and professional careers. Music examinations contributed $17 million in revenue, playing a vital role in credentialing for higher education and professional advancement. Music retail added $169 million in revenue. Industry, support, and development bodies contributed $8 million in GVA, underscoring their role in advocacy and coordination. Despite its economic scale, the sector faces structural challenges. National senior secondary music enrollments declined by 16% between 2012 and 2022, and over 40 creative arts university courses have been discontinued since 2018. Furthermore, teacher training capacity has weakened, with average music education training hours in primary teaching degrees dropping sharply from 17 hours in 2009 to just 8 hours by 2022, with training increasingly moving outside formal systems. Nevertheless, the sector demonstrates profound cultural value. Adults who received arts education as children are 56% more likely to attend live music events compared to those without such education, directly sustaining Australia's live music economy. The full report, More Than Notes on a Page, The Music Education Ecosystem in Australia, is available for download. The landscape of music catalog sales is undergoing a significant transformation, shifting the focus from superstar legacy acts to a broader market accessible to independent artists. Previously, catalog deals were largely perceived as reserved for artists with decades of mainstream success, but the streaming era has fundamentally altered how music assets are evaluated and monetized, making catalog sales viable for creators with smaller audiences. Platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and TikTok have established a global system where music generates recurring revenue daily, decoupling earning potential from traditional radio cycles or physical distribution. This shift means niche independent artists can now generate substantial, recurring royalty income across multiple platforms without achieving mainstream hits. Buyers are increasingly prioritizing data over celebrity status. They are evaluating catalogs based on metrics such as platform performance, consistent royalty streams, ownership structure, and growth trajectory, rather than solely relying on legacy. A major misconception is that music must be aged to hold value. The market is now increasingly receptive to younger catalogs, with some buyers showing interest in music as young as 18 months old, depending on the overall catalog profile. Furthermore, the threshold for catalog valuation is lowering. While institutional acquisitions exist, there is a wider array of buyers focusing on different revenue streams, including publishing rights, YouTube revenue, or producer royalties. Some buyers are even interested in catalogs generating modest annual royalties, provided the ownership and consistency profile is strong. For independent artists, catalog sales are evolving from being a final exit strategy to a strategic financial tool. Leveraging back catalog value can provide the necessary liquidity and resources to fund ongoing career development, including touring, marketing, and content creation, allowing artists to maintain autonomy and control over their future direction. Artists are also being encouraged to explore catalog opportunities even if existing business agreements are in place, as the presence of prior deals does not automatically disqualify a catalog from market evaluation. The key for independent creators is understanding the existing revenue streams and rights within their current business structure. Songcash, founded by Matt Caprio, an RIAA-certified producer, is assisting independent artists, producers, and rights holders in assessing their catalog monetization opportunities in this evolving market, demonstrating that music rights are increasingly valued through the lens of recurring digital cash flow, rather than just celebrity status.